Hello and welcome to another Conversations in Construction, a conversation we have every single Wednesday at 10 a.m. that anyone can be a part of. Anyone can come and sit down, ask questions about anything to do with the construction business. That includes what goes on when you're not at work. You can come in and have a yarn about it because it's all just as important. Today, I'm super stoked. We've got Maddie and Hugh in here joining us. And to be quite honest, I'm actually going to throw it back over to Maddie because before we hit the record button, we're having a bit of a yarn about what's going on for Maddie at the moment. And I'm bloody pumped. I think it's awesome, Maddie. So if we can hit the rewind button and we go back to how are things looking this year for you, Maddie?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, as we discussed, we've we've been in black belt now for coming up 4 years, and
But when did you start trying?
Well, been in there 4 years, implemented for 12 months, but that's just my fault. That is no, and everything that we've been taught and we've implemented into the last. It probably is about 18 months, nearly 2 years that we've sort of been really going hard at it and doing it properly. And yeah, we've just sort of this year we've got 4 big projects in front of us, out of our comfort zone, I suppose you'd call it. And we're working for these people, and we're the only builders that are working with these people. So it's sort of, as I said before, it's like we've got the label now of being the builder, but we've also got the respect that should go with it. And we're now seen as the prize. I actually had a really good conversation with one of the ladies, and she rang me before Christmas, and she'd been let down with a few quotes and that she'd had. And we told her we had a process in place, which included the pay proposal and all this sort of stuff, and fully understood and accepted and understood why it needs to be there. And then she rang me about 2 weeks after we had that catch up and discussion. She'd had a chat with the architect, explained what had been going on, and he even had heard that we were doing good things in the industry and that. And she actually rang to say, look, we want to choose you as the builder. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, it's turned the feeling of us winning a job as to now them choosing us. So now, as Mick's been teaching us, they're now we're seen as the prize, not us seeing the job as the prize, like we've won the job. So, and now we're right at the start with this lady and working with the architect, along with the other 3 jobs that we've got in front of us. We had a few catch-ups in Christmas, over the Christmas period, with architects and clients and that, where we actually met on site, brand new block, all that sort of stuff. And there's no drawings down on paper yet, just ideas. So we can actually be there right from the start. And they're fully understood that there's costs involved with meeting together and all this out of hours. It's not just an expected thing, I suppose, from their point of view. So yeah, as I said in the thing, it sort of feels a little bit arrogant, but it's not. It's the way we should feel about running a building business. So yeah, we just got to keep doing it now and getting better at what we're doing. So if we can do that, we should be doing this for a long time to come, man.
Giddy up. I just want to grab something I heard just then, right? So you're involved in the design project with the architect and the owner, and you're actually meeting on site. These are the advantages I can see for this. So you've gone to site, you're identifying issues around access, you're identifying issues around what's already there. You're able to have conversations based upon your experiences with what's under the ground for the foundations too, because you're a builder. Yes. What other things are of a massive advantage to both the client and you by having that conversation up front?
Well, we get to peel the whole job right back. So if there's budget constraints, we can tell them to be using the right products and not be using really expensive ones. We can pull the design back to make sure that it's more box-like, not too many ins and outs. You know, if the budget is there. One of them that we had to meet on site was it's near the sea, so they were trying to capture certain views, and we actually took along our drone and flew it up to finished floor height, and then also, sorry, the phone's ringing. We took it up to finished floor height and then standing height, so that they could see what they're going to be looking at from that height. So, which was, we just had to give the architect gave us the heights that we needed to fly to. We were able to do that, and these guys looked at it and they went, well, we're actually going to see a lot more than what we thought. So, little things like that, just working with the builder right at the start, it helps so much. And then also listening to them at the start. Like, you know, we've had probably 6 meetings with these people already. So we know what they're looking for in the house, so that we can pass that information on to, like, in a builder's way, pass that information on to the architect to make sure that there's no missteps. And I think these guys will probably do one design and one design only. Like, I don't think they'll make too many changes from their first set of plans, because we're so involved from the start. So
what's the advantage of that?
Well, they're going to get exactly what they're after. You know, there's not going to be any disappointment through the whole process. And we know what we're building them too. So we know the products we're working with. We can foresee if we have to order things, you know, within time. Like, if there's going to be constraints on windows and stuff like that, we can make sure. Being near the ocean, they're going to have to use certain products that are going to have to weather with the ocean and all that sort of stuff as well. So, but yeah, no, they're just, there's a lot of advantages for them as well as us.
Yeah. So I'm just listening to that and I'm hearing you talk about the building process. How much time, effort, and energy does that save for you as a builder to have all of this process knocked out before the plans are even submitted?
Well, there's a lot of, it just takes all the guessing out of it. Like, there's no, when I won't have to do guessing at provisional sums and prime cost items. We'll know exactly what they've chosen and what they want. So it's a huge time saver for me. So we do that with all our clients, to sit down with them and give them a list of things that they need to start shopping for, so that when it comes to quote time, they've actually got it in. We've got it in front of us, and there's no. I hate that stage of a job where you get to the end of it and they go, oh, but we want this, and it's like, no, well, you didn't choose that. If we can have it all documented on paper, they actually choose it at the start, and then they know what they're getting, so they rarely ever change their mind.
Which the advantages of that across the board are just huge. Your headspace, frustration. Yeah,
that's where the most building communication fails, is with when they think they're getting this and they're not actually getting that, because the builder's allowed for something completely cheaper or completely different. So yeah, working with them at the start, although it takes up a lot more time and planning, it saves a lot more down the track and a lot more heartache. So,
but are you getting paid for that? Those conversations?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So you're getting paid for those conversations up front.
Yep.
Right. So your time is covered. Whereas if you put the proposal in, you've got to change everything. Do you really get paid for the time that you lose trying to readjust everything?
No, never. No, because it's already all started, so you don't get paid for it. So at least, and it's probably not about even getting paid. It's more about being there at the start and making sure that we're helping them through the process to make sure that it goes right. Yeah. So the getting paid part is just a bonus, but having the confidence to know that everything's done properly, that's the thing that I like about it, because we've had a lot of jobs. Well, it was one of the main reasons we joined BBB, was because we had so many jobs where they thought they were getting this, or we thought we were doing this, and then by the end of it, the owner always gets what they want and the builder always loses. So we've now got processes in place that eliminate all that.
That's pretty cool. I'm sorry, but I just, after years in the industry and understanding how much changes cost, not only time, financial, but an absolute frustration, which then gets misplaced into other areas of your life. And I just, listening to how you're working through that, for me, is just wonderful. So I just want to honor you for that, Matty. It's really cool seeing that, you know? Yeah. Mick, sorry, we've just dived into things with Matty, but I just love it. I just, for me, on a personal level, I can see Matty as a better father because he's not carrying that frustration. I can see Matty as a better husband because he can be more attentive because his head's not boggling around thinking about the frustration of work. Think about that into your communities. You know, the kids are going to school better, they can learn better because their dad's present and he's giving them more energy instead of giving them the frustration and not being able to deal with it. It's, I know it seems like a little bit of a stretch to think of that, but it's actually not. That's the power of actually being able to do things and create better systems and processes for people because it matters in the other parts of our lives. So, yeah. So thank you, Matty. How is that? And how, sorry, I'm going to dive into that too. How has that transpired into the other areas of your life?
Yeah, like it's not all rainbows and unicorns, but it's a lot better. Like we had a lot of hard lessons to learn from mistakes we've made in the past that did cause the family life and the, you know, all that, the home life. It near wrecked it. So yeah, putting all this into place now it's not only helping that, as you said, and I didn't even really think of it like that, but it doesn't only help the work life. Obviously, it reduces the stress, which then helps the family life. So,
can you go into a bit more detail about that? Because the whole purpose of these conversations is, you know, it's about mental health and having the conversations that there isn't normally an environment to have conversations about specific topics. You know, and you can go into as much detail or as little detail as you want, but there was, from my memory, I remember having, I don't know whether it was a phone call or a digital conversation with Suze when we were actually away in Alaska and Canada, visiting our son who was living in Canada not long after you started with Black Belt. And I just remember there was and I'm using a metaphor here, talking you off a ledge conversation, not literally off a ledge, but there was that much overwhelm just after you joined Black Belt in your business. Nothing to do with Black Belt, I don't assume, but you wanted to bail out. You'd only just been there 5 minutes and you wanted to bail out. So with as much or as little detail as you're comfortable with, what was going on in your mind and your life that caused you to want to sort of stick your head in the sand and try and fix it yourself, if you can paint the before picture. And like you said, right now it's not all rainbows and unicorns, but it's better. So can you paint the after picture?
The problems are minuscule, but you think they're major now. But back then, we lost, I would hate to know the final figure, but it was around 80 grand on a job that we thought we had in there, and it just wasn't there because I'd misquoted it and just inexperience that had caused me to stuff things right up. And
but how did that impact you personally, emotionally, and then what impact did that have on your family relationships?
Well, I was looking to bail. I was looking to bail out of the building industry completely, and we'd only just joined Black Belt when I actually realised how deep we were into debt. And that was the first thing I thought of, was I needed to get out of that because I was looking for ways to bring the cost down. So I just thought, well, I've got to get out, you know. And I'm so glad I didn't, because the stuff that, and then, well, another instance was COVID. As soon as COVID happened, everyone panicked and thought how are we going to bring the cost in? What's going to happen? How's this going to affect the business? But in actual fact, staying in black belt was the best thing I could have done, because all the support and all the knowledge and all the help was there to actually transform the business into what it is now. Like, there's so many builders. My electrician rang up the other day and said he's gone to working on the wind farms. He's shutting his business. So there's 7 guys that are going to be unemployed from him, because he just can't. He feels like he's quoting jobs just to keep people employed. And I said to him at the time, I said, well, that means you're obviously not charging your lads out enough, because you're not making what you should be making. He's the kind of bloke that if he had possibly been in the tool shed, could have saved his business. But it's too late now. He's gone. So, but yeah, to go back, spiraled into depression. I've always suffered from anxiety, so that to have that happening to the business and knowing that I caused it, I went into a blame game, and all I did was blame me. So I had to then pick myself up and get out of that. And you have to do it yourself. You can't just listen to people. People go, oh, it's all right, it'll get better. But to the immediate person that's going through it, that's not it at all. You've got to actually find the switch to go, right, I've got to get myself out of this. And then you and I had another conversation, Mick, and you said that it was my responsibility to pick myself up and put myself back into black belt properly and apply it. And I think if I hadn't have done that, we would have gone belly up for sure. But going back and bringing myself back into that area, like, it's improved everything: the business, family life, social life. Quitting drinking was another one, that because I think I spiraled into the drinking because of, it was a reaction to just go home and have a beer and forget about your problems. So by stopping the drinking, you've got to face your problems and then look at what's around you and realize it takes the onus off everyone else and puts it back on yourself. And then, it was, as I said, that was another. There's been a few things in my life that I've changed that have transformed it. It's not all because you jump into a program. You've got to actually jump into the program and then change everything that you're doing as well. But yeah, that's a long-winded way of answering your question.
But it did happen quickly. Like I almost remember the day. It was like you just decided to engage and implement what had been in front of you for probably 18 months prior or 2 years prior to that, and it just seemed like you were idling through. And then one day you decided, I'm just going to implement and I'm going to engage. And, that's one of the things that I'd like you to just give me your thoughts on, is that with in Black Belt, we have a momentum call during the week. It's 3 days a week. This year it was 4 days a week. The year before, when COVID hit, it was 7 days a week, where everyone, or as many Black Belt people as possible, get together on this conversation for an hour in the middle of the day, most inconvenient time I could think of. And from that moment, you started to just participate and engage pretty much every day. And you also started to write a journal that you send through most days as well. Just run us through that decision and your experience through it.
Yeah, well, they were the biggest way of getting everything out of your head and actually getting the help that you need. And look, sometimes it's not even asking for the help. Sometimes it's just listening to what people have gone through with their problems.
How hard is it to ask for help? Because, the reason that this conversation exists is to offer it.
Yeah, that's right.
And people can sit back and watch the replay of it. That's fine. there's probably more value in jumping in like you've done and Hugh has done today to ask questions or just have a conversation. I mean, even having this conversation, I'd be interested into how I know you haven't answered my original question, but don't worry about it because this is more important. How do you feel right now sitting here telling your story from an emotional point of view? Like, are you proud? Are you excited? Are you relieved? Like, how are you feeling now telling this story?
Probably all of the above, if I could say it like that. It's the biggest thing is confidence. I never had much confidence with things. Like now, knowing that we've got the backing of the people around us, you can put your chest out and you can know that you're going to be doing the right thing, or there's someone going to be able to help you there. Or in engaging, stopping the drinking, and getting control of my mindset are probably three of the things that I'm most proud about. I'm coming up nearly 2 years now since I've had a beer, and I used to have 6 or 8 beers a night, more on weekends, and it was out of control. So that was, that's a pretty big addiction to get away from. And I'm more than happy to tell people what my story is and say, I read one on the HIA page on Facebook actually last night about a guy who spiraled from work and stress and all that sort of stuff. He spiraled into drinking, and he's now sober, and he's been able to win these HIA awards and all this sort of stuff. And his story really resonated with mine. Like, it was a good 10, 15-minute read, but got a lot out of it. And I sort of sat back and I thought, shit, I've actually done really well, excellent even, to do what I've done in the short amount of time, all from making changes that I had to make. So but confidence is the biggest thing. I've got a lot of confidence now.
What does your depression and anxiety look like now?
I can stop it. So I can see it coming, and I can control it, which is really good. Like, I used to always get really anxious about coming back to work from a 4-week holiday, or even a 2-week holiday. But the Monday just gone, when I came back to work, I was able to, 3 or 4 days beforehand, when I could start feeling it, is just go, nah, it's all right. We've got a few jobs to get done in the office. Even though there is a lot of jobs to get done, I've just picked 3 or 4 jobs that I have to get done in these 3 days this week. I've already done them, and I'm on to other jobs now. So, and I'll have a feeling of accomplishment at the end of the week, and then I'll ease my way into the year. The work will wait. It'll be there. People are wanting to work with us. So, it's a thing that I'm in control of now. Which is
and
good.
the message seems to me like it's not something that you wish would go away or you can overcome. It's just learning better strategies of managing it, putting yourself in better environments to manage it, giving yourself better tools to manage it, and probably the start of that is acknowledging its existence and being somewhat comfortable to just talk about it, like not with the view of fixing it or curing it. Just
no, I won't eliminate it. It won't ever go away. It'll always be there. So that's the one thing, and then feeling confident to talk about it is another thing, and then understanding where it's coming from is the biggest one, because then you can stop it or you can ease it. And then if you can ease it, you can distract it with something else. And unfortunately, in the past, the distraction that I used to use was the grog, and now it's not. Now it's family stuff, or looking for different ways that I can transform the business into. We've got the shed building business now, which we just signed our first contract for yesterday. So once I hit the button on that business, we're actually going to get really, really busy in a good way. So yeah, and we've got that, the classic car.
I was
that I
just about
bought.
to say, instead of using drinking as a clutch, you're now buying $50,000 classic cars as a crutch.
Well, I got that on the road on Monday. We put Club Rego on it, and we put all the kids. It's a 6-seater, so I was able to put the whole family in, and we took, went for a cruise, and it was unreal. I looked at Sue's, and you talk about that shit-eating grin or whatever you put it, about the profit first stuff. That's exactly how I felt. I felt like I was 18 again. I was just cruising down the highway and no problems, nothing. It was just, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. So
brilliant. We do have a hard deadline for today's conversation, so we will pull it up there. So thanks for sharing, Matt, and for your contribution, Hugh. It was priceless.
Sorry, Hugh.
Nothing to be sorry about here.
Any final words, Scott, in a truncated sentence?
I'm going to keep it really quick, but I just want a nod from Hugh. Hugh, just by being here, did you realize something? Did you see something that could be better for you? Did you feel something? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think that's the power of what this is about. Sometimes you don't need to talk. Sometimes just being present will help you. So, yeah, great conversation, Matty. Great job today. Mick, good work. Next week, I'm actually going to hit something that Matt just spoke about, the finance side of things, which is what I was planning on talking about today. But this was a better conversation for today. So, but next week, we'll probably be talking about profit first, if that's all right, Mick, because that's something that's
totally all right.
That shit-eating grin will
profit first. Get you to drive around in a classic car.
Yeah, it's not an XYGT yet. yet. So, or was it? No, an XYGT, is it?
XC Falcon.
XC.
Fairmont. Yeah, Fairmont.
Straightest car in Australia.
Love it.
It's amazing. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please come and join us live or make some comments under the video. This will be posted in Life in Construction. It'll probably end up on YouTube as well. So we'll talk to you next week. Jump into Life in Construction, hit the RSVP. If you've got any questions, topics, comments that you'd like us to cover, even if you're not there, you can just put them in the comments when you RSVP. And we'll do our very best to cover them or have a conversation with you if you show up. Thank you, linesmen. Thank you, ball boys. I'm saying it because the Australian Open's on.